Somewhere beneath the surface of the Persian Gulf, a machine worth $60 billion a year never stops running. You've probably heard the claim that millions of barrels of Iranian oil flow into the United States every single day. It sounds shocking. It sounds like a headline. This is the story of how Iran actually moves its oil around the world, and how a hidden fleet of ghost tankers keeps one of the most sanctioned economies on Earth alive. Let's start with the numbers, because they're almost hard to believe. Iran sits on roughly 208 to 209 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves. That's the third largest stockpile on the planet, behind only Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. It accounts for about 12% of all the oil reserves on Earth, and nearly a quarter of everything sitting underground across the entire Middle East.
Iran is OPEC's fourth largest producer, pulling somewhere between 3.5 and 4 million barrels a day out of the ground. Most of that comes from the southwest. From Khuzestan province, home to giants like the Ahvaz field, one of the largest oil fields in the world, along with Gachsaran and Marun. Almost 90% of everything Iran exports funnels through a single choke point, a small stretch of land in the northern Persian Gulf called Karg Island. And it's not what most people assume. It isn't the value of Iran's reserves. It's a projection, an estimate of what Iran could earn in a single year if sanctions were lifted and the country returned to its pre-conflict production levels. At current market prices. Analysts believe that number could exceed $60 billion annually. But that's a hypothetical.
The reality on the ground right B00K981H9T now looks very different, and it's been getting worse. In March of this year, Iran was exporting close to 1.84 million barrels a day.
By April, naval blockades and mounting pressure cut that down to about 1.34 million barrels. By May and June, it had collapsed to somewhere around 300,000 barrels a day, as storage tanks near Karg Island filled to capacity and ships had nowhere to go. From more than $165 million a day in March. That's not a small dip. That's an economy getting strangled in real time. So if Iran's oil isn't ending up in America, where is it actually going, and how does it get there? To understand that, you have to go back to where it all begins. Out in the middle of the Persian Gulf, on platforms that never sleep. Below the surface of these deceptively quiet waters sits one of the planet's most fought-over and profitable energy zones. Iran's offshore fields, places like Abu Zar, Foruzan, Dorud, and the heavy Ferdowsi field, keep producing day and night, even under some of the harshest economic pressure any nation has ever faced. Every rig out here functions like a small floating city, run by crews trained to operate machinery that would overwhelm an untrained hand. Nothing here happens by accident. Every shift change, every valve turned, is part of a much larger game being played on the world stage. One where energy and politics can never really be separated. Rising above each platform is the derrick. A towering steel structure acting as a doorway into reservoirs buried miles beneath the ocean floor. Massive winches lower an enormous drill string down through open water. And deep into the crust of the earth.
None of this is gentle!
It takes precise calculation and constant vigilance to bring oil up from that kind of depth. Above the platform, a flare stack burns steadily. A visible reminder of the extreme pressure churning below the waves. The drilling itself is brutal.
A rotating bit grinds through layers of ancient rock,
while the crew watches torque, weight, and resistance, essentially feeling their way through solid stone from a distance. Specialized fluid gets pumped down the shaft to cool the bit and hold back the reservoir's natural pressure, preventing a blowout that could turn deadly in seconds. It's a coordinated, high-risk performance. Machinery and human skill working together around the clock, while maintenance crews fight a constant battle against saltwater corrosion. Eventually, the drill reaches its target, crude oil, the compressed remains of organic matter that took millions of years to form. This is the exact commodity international sanctions were designed to choke off.
but getting it out of the ground is only the beginning.
Many of these fields have aged considerably, and natural pressure alone isn't enough anymore.
So Iran's state oil company relies on enhanced recovery,
Injecting massive volumes of water beneath the oil layer, while pumping gas in from above, squeezing the reservoir from both directions to force crude toward the wellheads.
It takes enormous energy and constant monitoring, since a small miscalculation in pressure could trigger a catastrophic spill.
And yet production keeps defying predictions of decline. With more than 1.5 million barrels pulled from these waters every single day. What comes up isn't pure oil. It's a raw, unstable mixture of crude, water, and natural gas, all tangled together. Gas gets stripped off and either processed or burned at the flare stack. Salt water gets drained out. What's left gets pushed by booster pumps into a web of pipelines resting along the seafloor. Hidden arteries connecting offshore wells to onshore terminals. All of it flowing toward one destination, the tightly guarded loading docks of Kharg Island. Kharg Island is the command center of Iran's entire oil export network.
a fortified facility protecting the country's most important source of income. This is where offshore crude finally reaches land. Massive storage tanks hold millions of barrels, buffering the flow even as demand rises and falls. From those tanks, wide pipes run to deep water jetties,
where dock crews prepare for ships that, according to official records, technically don't exist. This is the starting point for what's known as the shadow fleet, aging tankers deliberately kept obscure and hard to trace. These vessels live in the murky in-between zones of maritime law, exploiting every loophole they can find. Once docked, pumps force millions of gallons of crude into the ship's hold every hour. An almost unbelievable volume moving through steel pipes in a matter of hours, the vessel visibly sinking lower into the water as it fills. Loading can stretch on for hours or days, depending on the ship's size. Meanwhile, paperwork gets carefully arranged, and once loaded, the tanker heads straight toward one of the most dangerous choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. A narrow passage carrying roughly a fifth of the world's oil supply. It's also one of the most heavily patrolled and militarized waterways on the planet. The moment that transponder goes dark, the vessel disappears from global tracking, turning into a ghost ship gliding silently through crowded waters, using the region's chaos as natural camouflage. Once clear of the strait, the tanker doesn't head to a port. It heads to a specific set of coordinates out in open water, a rendezvous point where the covert handoff begins.